What do the quintessential quintuplets, Seven Deadly Sins, and Tiger and Bunny have in common? Other than being great series in their own rights, some of their creators now have new manga series making their debuts in 2021. Where can you find these new manga? In Weekly Shonen Magazine. While everyone has been focusing in on the 4 new manga debuting in Weekly Shonen Jump, myself included, their biggest competitor, Weekly Shonen Magazine, has been making moves of their own, and arguably better moves than Jump. I'm Axel Blaze, and in today's video we'll be talking about the new manga titles Ranger Reject, Four Knights of the Apocalypse, and Tesla Note. We begin with the new series by quintessential quintuplets creator Neji Haruba. Sentai Daishikaku, or Ranger Reject as it's been referred to in English, features the Divine Dragon Rangers, a Super Sentai team of heroes that protects the world from the villainous army of evil every Sunday. They've been protecting the world now for 13 years, and every Sunday is a spectacle for fans to come and watch the heroes take down the bad guys. But is that all there is to it? Or is there something darker beneath the surface? Are these heroes really as heroic as the public thinks that they are? One of the big twists of the series is that the story is told not from the perspective of one or more of the Rangers, but from the perspective of Foot Soldier D, one of the common grunts or mooks, depending on what you call them. And what does Foot Soldier D want to do? He wants to stop losing to the Divine Dragon Rangers and finally beat them after being on the receiving end for over 13 years. As a big Super Sentai and Kamen Rider fan myself, I love seeing all the nods to them that we get to see in this series. It's crazy to think that Neji Haruba went from writing quintessential quintuplets to writing Ranger Reject, because that is a major genre turn. But the art here, like it is in the other 2 series we'll be talking about, is really good. Haruba Sensei does not disappoint. And if you've ever watched Power Rangers, Super Sentai, or Kamen Rider in the past, then do yourselves a favor and start reading this series. Haruba is a heavy hitter in the industry at this point, given the stellar sales that the quintuplets had the last 2 years, landing in Oricon's top 10 best-selling manga in 2019 and 2020. We move on from one big Weekly Shonen Magazine veteran to another as we discuss a big sequel. Nakaba Suzuki, the creator of Seven Deadly Sins, is back with his sequel series, Mokushiroku no Yonkishi, otherwise known as Four Knights of the Apocalypse. Our story revolves around Percival, a young man that lives with his grandfather on a location high above the clouds known as God's Finger. Despite his looks, he is 15 years old and incredibly tough and nimble. Sounds like another main character we know about. Anyway, the story takes place as Percival is about to celebrate his 16th birthday. On the day of his birthday, though, a mysterious holy knight, fully clad in armor, shows up on a boat riding through the clouds. When he arrives, this holy knight tells Percival that he's looking for a man by the name of Balgus, Percival's grandfather. It's with the arrival of this holy knight that our story truly begins. I'm not going to spoil the plot for the rest of Chapter 1 or the other 2 that have been released yet so far, nor will I spoil the ending of the Seven Deadly Sins series since the anime hasn't finished yet. I will say that if you have finished the original manga but haven't read the one-offs featuring Tristan and Lancelot, then you should definitely do that before reading Four Knights of the Apocalypse. While this is a high-profile sequel manga due to the success of the Seven Deadly Sins manga and anime, it's obviously not on the same scale as something like Naruto, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, or Great Teacher Onizuka, because yeah, that actually is part of a sequel series. But it is still really big. The ending for Sins led to a very mixed reaction from fans and critics, so it will be interesting to see whether or not this new sequel series can really take off. With 3 chapters out and fan translated so far, I can say that Four Knights of the Apocalypse has a similar feeling to the start of its prequel series, and that's a good thing. Light-hearted characters in a world of knights and magic with a dark mystery hanging over their heads. And so far we're getting connections to the prequel series thread by thread. We haven't jumped into the deep end yet, so I look forward to seeing where things go. As this is a sequel series, I can only truly recommend it to those that have read Seven Deadly Sins before. If you haven't read it, then you may still enjoy it, but you won't get a full reading experience without some context. And if you're anime only, definitely finish the anime first. Don't go jumping the shark to start reading the series since you haven't read the manga. I've done my best not to spoil anything here, so don't ruin it for yourselves, please. The last new series we'll be talking about is a little different compared to the other two. The credits for the new manga Tesla Note are a little different. The art is done by Kota Sanomiya, while the writing is credited to Nishida Masafumi and Tadayoshi Kubo from the hit anime Tiger and Bunny. Tesla Note follows the story of Botan Negoro, a teenage girl that has been trained since she was a child to take on an intelligence mission known as Mission T. She's paired up with an agent by the name of Kuruma to save the world from crystals known as the Tesla Shards. These crystals contain the various technological and scientific advancements achieved by Nikola Tesla throughout his life, and in the wrong hands, could mean the end of the world. While the premise might sound outlandish, it helps to remember that Tiger and Bunny was a bit outlandish itself. There's a lot of action and mystery involved here, as well as a bit of horror. That said, how can you not be interested when the first colored double-page spread features a high-speed train plummeting to the Earth from a wormhole in the sky? How can you not be tempted to read it? One of the biggest strengths that this manga in particular has is with the facial expressions shown by the main characters. Sanomiya Sensei is able to show a fantastic array of expressions with a ton of range, lending to a lot of comedic moments in the manga. It's a nice juxtaposition compared to the darker tone of the plot, so I definitely appreciate it. With 2 chapters fan-translated so far, I've got decent hopes for this new series, but like with any manga magazine, I know that the competition is stiff. This is especially true with Weekly Shonen Magazine, so fingers crossed that it can find a steady foothold. While it's fantastic that all 3 of the series have been picked up by fan translators so far, it's still upsetting that Jump's main competitor for manga doesn't have a one-stop access for its manga. Especially since Kodansha has a big online subscription service for their magazines in Japan. The Viz Shonen Jump app and Shueisha's Manga Plus apps have been a major boon for Jump fans in the West, and the head editor for Jump Plus and Manga Plus was aware of the need for an international rollout of their app all the way back in 2017. While it wasn't officially launched in the US and a few other regions until 2019, it's still important to know that that service was made available. On Kodansha's side of things, it's mostly been crickets. Besides a few handpicked series here and there isn't a widespread access to simulpubs for their manga, and that's a big disservice to the fans. From what I've been told, a big reason for this is the way that Kodansha, Shueisha, and Viz go about translating is very different. While Kodansha has a smaller core group responsible for translating and keeping faithful to the original manuscripts, Shueisha and Viz use a freelance-dependent system to cover their simulpubs. Because of this, us fans in the West are able to enjoy all of the series published in Weekly Shonen Jump, a few series from the monthly Jump magazines, and a few series from Jump Plus as well. And I know that the main focus of this video is on the new Weekly Shonen Magazine series, but while we're talking about the freelance translators, I want to give a shout out to David Evelyn on Twitter. He's a translator for Undead Unluck, Kaiju Number 8, and I Tell C, and his work is fantastic. I highly recommend that you follow him on Twitter and show him some love, because he'll share details on how and why he translates certain pages and phrases, and it's incredibly interesting to see how he goes about that process. I don't know if you'll ever see this video, David, but thank you for the work that you do. Despite the hurdles that we face to read these new series, I think that their first chapters had some major impact, and I would even argue that they had more impact than the new series we've read in the last 3 weeks of Weekly Shonen Jump. Is it an apples-to-apples argument? No. Ranger Reject is an action drama series with sci-fi, supernatural, and superhero elements. Four Knights of the Apocalypse is a fantasy adventure with comedic elements, and Tesla Note is a sci-fi mystery drama series with comedic elements of its own too. In comparison, Elusive Samurai is a historical drama/adventure, I Tell C is a detective drama with mystery and rom-com elements, and Witch Watch is a fantasy rom-com. There's a bit more variety compared to the new Weekly Shonen Magazine editions. Not that there hasn't been a slew of series with variety introduced in the last few months of 2020 though, for Weekly Shonen Magazine. At the end of the day, the reception for all of these is entirely subjective. While my own impressions for the first chapters for Ranger Reject, Four Knights, and Tesla Note might be stronger than that of Elusive Samurai, I Tell C, and Witch Watch, that doesn't mean that these feelings will stay the same as the weeks go on and more chapters are released. And who knows, maybe Kowloon's Ball Parade may be the best of all of these. But for now, I can say that I was wowed a little bit more by Weekly Shonen Magazine's offerings. But with that said, I want to hear from you guys now. Have any of you read any of these 3 new series so far? And if so, what are your thoughts? If you haven't read any of these series yet, which are you looking forward to reading first? And out of all of these series, including the Jump ones, which has been your favorite so far? Do you want to hear my thoughts later down the line when 5 or more chapters are out for each series? Let me know down in the comments and we can get a discussion going. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you for watching. If you liked it and want to see more like it, hit that like button, and if you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all of my videos. Until next time, my name is Axel Ablaze, and I'll see you next Sunday when the Divine Dragon Rangers save the day again. Bye-bye, everybody.